Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Film Geek Maniac. I am your host, Chad Miller, and this is exciting because I haven't done much other representation for this channel other than Toy Geek Maniac. So here we are, and I'm here to discuss actually a direct-to-video segment, which I wouldn't normally lump into Film Geek Maniac so much if it weren't for the pandemic and really not being able to go to theaters and see actual movies. So yes, here we go, and here's my review of Batman The Long Halloween, Part 1. So, in all aspects, I am more of a Marvel junkie than I am DC. However, I do appreciate certain values of DC, and that mainly being Batman. And to talk about the Batman films, I've been a huge fan of them, all the way across the board. And when it comes to direct-to-video DC animation, there have been some challenges, I would say. However, going into interpretations of animated films that are based on actual comics, there are some things that have been great. There's been some things that have not been so great. And with The Long Halloween, I don't have any base reference to really go on. So this is new exposure to me. I know it's a long-standing great storyline in the Batman universe, as far as comics go. I have not read The Long Halloween, so this is all new, and I was going into this with so many high expectations, because of the artistry of the writing talent, the artistic talent, and things like that. So here begins a little bit of a non-spoiler review of Batman The Long Halloween, Part 1. First of all, the opening credit sequence was really nice because it featured artwork from Tim Sale, the original artist on the run of Batman The Long Halloween comic series. I'm not a huge fan of his style, but I respect his work. And so it was really nice to actually see that component actually put into the opening credit sequence that we got to receive with this film. So a lot of what I have to say about this isn't so much spoilery. I'm just making some random comments about the product and style and consistency of what I feel this story entails, and as far as the production. I am going to say one thing, that Jensen Ackles resonates very well with Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of Batman in the original Batman animated series from the 90s. He channeled that extremely well. It was nice, and he also put his own edge on it as well. But sometimes there was like this blurred line that is just like, wow, is that Kevin Conroy? And I thought that was amazingly fantastic. The background art in this movie was amazing. Like, visually just stunning, and it just wowed me. And I really have to say that the forefront of the animation really did not hold to that standard in regard to the style. The animation at times was good, but at most it was clunky, and that was very disappointing, especially coming so many years after Batman the Animated Series, where the animation was so extremely fluid and great and beautiful and dark and pleasing and all that kind of really good stuff. It was really hard to see such choppy work done as far as the main animation, but the background's amazing. Oh, just stunning. And not knowing how the story really goes, because I did not read The Long Halloween. However, I'm very well aware of the history between Batman and Catwoman, and I found that their early scenes were extremely underwhelming to build on the idea of them having a romance / rivalry. It was there, it was hinted at, it wasn't very developed. And I think I don't know if it was the writing or if it was just styling. One thing that really, and I'll get to this later in the review too, is that Naya Rivera, obviously, who has tragically passed, just kind of like clunked in the beginning with Catwoman. and the dynamic between her and Batman, as they were trying to set this up, was just so horrible and awkward and gross. It was gross. It should have been a lot more fluid, integral, balanced, and it just wasn't. And I felt really sad about that, because that is kind of like one of the integral aspects of Batman mythology, is his relationship with Catwoman. But as we go on, the movie was rather slow-paced. It really took its time, and I understand that this was a part 1. So I get the need for that. It got to be a little bit too slow for me, so I was kind of like sitting there going, okay, what's going to be the next big moment to happen? And in a way, I can actually really appreciate that as we go along, and we start diving into the possibilities of who the main villain is, and who it may not be. And for a bit of time, I really was thinking it was going to be Harvey Dent, and I really have to say that Josh Duhamel as Harvey was stunning. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, his voice work was just the best out of anyone in the series. And yeah, the best. And there was a point in time when I thought that he was going to be the main villain, and it turned out he wasn't. At that point, I'm not going to spoil anything. However, I do think that the dialogue really kind of lacked. Sometimes it was just so gut-wrenchingly awful. And once again, I'm paralleling this to the 1990s animated series that was so remarkably done, and it's just like, you're going back 30 years, roughly, and seeing something that is just brilliant, not just in retrospect, but just in general. And then you get this, and considering that it's based on a well-beloved storyline in Batman history, this dialogue shouldn't have been so damn cheap. Yikes. That did hurt a lot for me. But when it comes down to some of the better aspects of the movie, the fight scene with the ninja type mafia characters that Batman had, that was stunning. That was amazing. And I was just wowed. I was just like, where did all this come from? Because this should be integrated throughout the entire show. As far as animation goes, yeah, that was damn impressive. I really, really, really enjoyed that. However, I think there was, and maybe this is just a misstep in my DC knowledge. There was one of the characters from the Asian mafia that got away and went into the sewers. And Batman was just like, look, I know what resides down here. And instantly in my head, I'm like, Killer Croc, Killer Croc, Killer Croc. And then it's Solomon Grundy. I'm vaguely familiar with Solomon, and however, I thought he was more of a Superman villain than a Batman villain. And you can educate me in the comments below, please do. But yeah, it turned out to be Solomon Grundy, and that kind of threw me off a little bit, just because I was expecting Killer Croc. That would have been logical in my eyes. However, obviously, I'm not as well versed in Batman lore as most people are. So, yeah, please do educate me in the comments below, because I would love to understand why my idea of Solomon Grundy is a Superman villain rather than a Batman villain, and why he would be in the sewers of Gotham City rather than in Metropolis. Yeah, just please educate me. I'm well open to it. So as we get along a little bit further, the Joker is introduced as a potential main villain for this storyline. And, I mean, you would think, obviously, Joker would be the ultimate villain, because he is the ultimate villain for Batman. And so we're going along the storyline with him, and he is being voiced by Troy Baker, and he channels Mark Hamill's Joker to a degree that even Jensen Ackles couldn't replicate Kevin Conroy, and he did a tremendous job of that. If you were to sit there and tell me that this version of Joker was not Mark Hamill, I would have hit you in the face and called you a liar. No, I'm kidding, I'm not that violent. But dead serious, I was just like, oh my gosh, when I found out that, like, it wasn't Mark Hamill, I blew my mind. So kudos to you, Troy Baker. I'm trying to phrase this nicely. Well, not nicely, but respectfully. Mark Hamill did such an amazing job at voicing the Joker during the animated series. I understand that that is a kind of thing that they want to keep going as far as future animated projects and things like that, and to find somebody like Troy Baker who did that so well is not only a tribute to the animated version of the character, but to Mark Hamill himself. I'm bowled over as far as the integrity that has gone into that performance. Just boom. Astounding. And then Joker says shit. And that was just really cool. I'm trying to think of a moment in any sort of like direct-to-animated series from DC where there's been a little bit of vulgarity, and I can't recall it off the top of my head, but that was just like sweet. Sweet. So in regards to the end of this part one, for the most part, it was very boring, and I understand that it was setting up a lot, and I respect that totally, as somebody who loves film, who has made a film, a very, very amateur film at that, and who just loves movies altogether. I understand the build up, and it took a while, and I understood it was a part one, and once the ball got rolling, it wasn't until really the third act that things really got interesting. I was just like, okay, where is this going? What is happening? What is going on? I felt the dynamic between Catwoman and Batman got better. Not necessarily great. The situation with Joker got interesting. The person that I thought was going to be the main villain wasn't the main villain. However, that leads to thoughts of the other person that could be the main villain, which I won't give away unless I'm correct during Batman The Long Halloween Part 2, whenever that comes out. I have to research that. But I have my suspicions. So there were actually some surprises toward the end. And overall, am I satisfied with this as being a plausible and worthy Batman story? I'm gonna give this an 80%. I think this could have been put together a lot better. I think the animation could have been much more stellar. There were moments where it was amazing, like I said, and there were moments where it's like an eyebrow went from here to like there in a flat second, and I'm just like, really? In today's day and age, and not only hand-drawn animation, but computer animation, I mean, that's just like, that shouldn't be a thing. Naya Rivera, once again, God bless her, she got better toward the end. And I'm not sure if she was able to continue her work for part 2. I'll have to look into that as well. But as far as the voice work, Jensen Ackles was great, and obviously Troy Baker. And there are a few other people in there. Billy Elliot as Captain Gordon. He's not commissioner yet. Was pretty darn good, but I think overall Josh Duhamel actually really stole the show as far as like voice talent. it his work seems to be so organic and natural and not forced or seemed to be made for animation. And I like that a lot. So 80% for Batman The Long Halloween Part 1. I look forward to Part 2 for sure. For sure. Oh, and there is the end credit sequence that introduces a popular Rogues Gallery character that I won't spoil for you. I mean, obviously, if you're aware of the series and or this film, you will already know this, but this makes something very interesting and we shall see how this transpires in Part 2. So yes, once again, about an 80% favorability on Batman The Long Halloween Part 1. Maybe Part 2 will elevate Part 1 for me. That could be amazing. It's very likely, actually, because through the progression of this movie, it took a while to really get going. And once it got there, and then I was kind of like, okay, boom, now I want to know what's going on. So, yes. That being said, thank you so much for watching this episode of Film Geek Maniac. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment, share, all that kind of good stuff, and keep an eye out for the next episode. And as always, love and light to you all.